I needed to get out of the wind, and here again is another service bulletin. They got two service bulletins on the 592 and the 585 series. And if you look at the date, it came out of January in 2023. And it basically says new improved purge hose with a different design to prevent folding. So that's very important. And the description is new improved purge hose design. See additional information. The new purge hose implemented from serial number whatever. Basically that should be your saw. So it's already in the new saws. Product sold to end user. Residual inventory not yet sold. Services required only if encountered. Basically, if you've got a problem, you come to them. The new part number is the 5341380-01. It's action required, otherwise you're going to need it. Now there's another one. New fuel filter for improved filtration. And this is pretty much all the auto tunes. All of them. And we have implemented a new fuel filter with improved filtration for the auto-tune products. Analysis of warranty replaced carburetors. Often, this is very, very, very interesting. Often show cases of dirt entering the carburetor. The new fuel filter has a finer mesh and is white and blue in color. With this change, it will be important to change the fuel filter according to service recommendations. So basically, what they're saying is something we've seen in the past, where that's why Bob did that one video on cleaning the carburetors, is they get dirty, like a chainsaw. And when they get dirty, they're a problem, which is not a big surprise, is it? Now, as far as dealers and as far as adjustment tools, I went up to the wood shop, and it's right between Canton, New York and Potsdam. It's one of the last true chainsaw shops in the state because Bob's closing down. He's done. His doors are closed. The Shokin Turf and Timber is no more. And it goes right back to what I was talking about with my rant. Is they, instead of getting a piece of paper from Husqvarna, please bring your chainsaw in. We have something that might improve it. It's a design flaw, and we want to change it, kind of like a recall. Same with that little thin piece on the case right there. That's going to break. Instead of doing that, they send me a plan to spend a whole bunch of money for a service plan to bring it ostensibly to some service center that does not exist. So why would I spend all that money when there is no place to bring it? Fact of the matter, oftentimes it'll end up in my shop. But they would take the approach of, instead of trying to alert people who bought these saws, because I've registered the saw, and giving them either a heads up to bring it to the dealer to get fixed, or in fact just send the part. No, they send me a freaking service plan to sign. So, no. And that's what started. When I got that letter and that offer for a service plan, knowing how the dealer situation is in my area, that is when my rant turned into reality. So anyway, as far as the Husqvarna product, this is different than the Husqvarna business practices. I love it. The auto tunes I've had, got some in here, both 572 and 562. Love them, still do. Not getting rid of them just because I'm mad at the way Husky wants to do business, because it harkens to a prior career of mine. No, I'll do more of them. I'm just going to go more junk pile than new. That's all. But the 585 is a beautiful machine. And on a day like this when it's cold, chainsaw has been sitting without gas for a little while. It's windy. It's really cold. That primer bulb really important to get it started. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to tune it up to this temperature, put a little bit of runtime on it, get a little bit of firewood, and then put up my video rant. Trust me, I wasn't thinking rant until I got that letter. Instead of something that would actually help me as a customer, I got them trying to suck some more money out of me that I don't want to spend because I've already spent a lot of money. Now I ordered one of the official Husqvarna adjustment tools, but I also got this, like I said, from that one saw shop. The Pac-Man. Basically, it's a larger diameter cylinder with a little bump that would fit into a spline. That's the only one that works. The splines on this carburetor are just a little bit bigger, but this one works just fine. Gets right in there, and I could probably leave it right there, and I can adjust that carb. So I'm going to give a little bit more fuel both top and bottom, and let's just see what we got. But no, I really like this saw. So the rant is not any way, shape, or form a reflection of my feeling of the product line. The product line is beautiful. I would buy another one of these in a heartbeat, and I would buy a 572 in a heartbeat as well. Those things are really cool saws. And my 565 has proven to be a wonderful, wonderful product. And I'm hoping this is going to be the felon saw for the year. It's either that or one of the 572 junk piles that I haven't decided just yet. Pumped up. Give it a couple pulls. Did I happen to mention it's cold out? that chain's not going to do much more. I guess I got it to the dirt one too many times. I also wanted to give this 585 a little bit better chance. So I'm going to get rid of this semi-chisel chain and put a full chisel chain on it. And I bought a chain down at the local Husqvarna dealer for $37.99. My God, has the price gone up on chain. Bitter, bitter wind. Did that to me yesterday. I'm not quite sure why. So we're back to tweak and tune. I have a hunch it may have to do with that fuel line that I've got to replace. But let's just give it a little shot. Increase the idle just a little bit. Well, now it actually ran out of gas. And that's something I wanted it to do, so I can show off one of the big benefits of a primer bulb. You can use the primer bulb to get the gas up into the carburetor so it'll start again. It's going to take a couple of more cuts after this, but let me go load it up. And to me, this is part of what life with a saw is about. Is just doing stuff like this to make sure that the everyday things that you have to deal with a saw work well. All right, we'll give it a little choke. Well, I tell you one thing this proves right here is how much easier ash is to cut than hard maple. Wow. That ash cut like butter. This hard maple was tough, you know. So what do I really think about this 585? Well, it's not lacking for horsepower. It's freaking loud. It's a very loud saw. And for the size of saw it is, it doesn't vibrate that much. It's not bad. I love the flippy caps for the bar oil and the fuel. I like the multi-function, you know, choke, high idle, on-off switch. I like the fact that it has a primer. The decomp works pretty good. I really like that cover and those bar nuts. So there's a lot of things I like about this saw. Just the little tiny details are just really well done on this particular chainsaw. As it came, it was set up way too lean. So, and it's not readily obvious to me just yet on how best to tune it. I've kind of gone back and forth on taking away fuel in the low end and adding high idle to adding fuel back in. And I haven't got that balance just right yet, but part of it has to break in. It hasn't broken in yet, so the compression isn't really up, and that usually shows up on idle. So I'm going to give it more time. If you were paying attention, as these two fuel tanks of work carried on, it started to idle better. And that's pretty characteristic of a saw when it breaks in. When the cylinder to ring hasn't seated just yet, the compression's a little bit down, and that's where you have your idle issues. As the compression comes up, because the ring files itself to match the cylinder wall, the idling gets better. And so it's idling better now, and I did extended periods of idle until I was fairly satisfied it wasn't going to stall. When I first started today, but also when I first started running it last time, it had a kind of a propensity of wanting to stall. Even though it was idling good, it would go for a while, then also like to stall. And I'm cautiously optimistic that I've got that beat, because it didn't stall this whole last probably hour. So, but I like the saw, no doubt. I kind of like the idea of the adjusters. But I do have to tell you guys, auto-tune spoils you, because a lot of the stuff I'm just messing around with right here to get it right, you don't have to do it with the 572, and you don't have to do it with the 562 either. And but you know, I'm going to run this saw. You know, I've decided it's not going to be a shelf queen. I really like its power delivery. What I was doing, I don't know if you noticed, was I was letting it get into wood. I'd come out of the throttle, and then I'd hit the throttle again, and I was just waiting to see if it would pinch and bog.
No, it snapped right too. Now the 24-inch bar, it probably needs a lightweight 28 to make it really more effective. But I'm shooting for weight right now until I kind of work myself back into working condition. I got myself out of it for a little bit. So it'll stick with a 24 for a little bit, and then I'm going to get a lightweight 28 for it, because that's really how it's going to shine. And I like the way the bucking spikes are for felling. They don't, with the power the saw has, it doesn't pinch, you know, as fast as say the 572 with those Western style bucking spikes. Part of it's because that lower spike is a little further in, closer to the case, and where the Western style, that lower bucking spike is out further, which gives the bar leverage over the saw, and that's why they pinch so quickly. I didn't really pinch this hardly at all. Now if you watch my 572, it pinches all the time, because that Western style bucking spike has just too much leverage on with the bar on the saw, so it stalls the chain too quickly. This, other than idle, other than the fact that I'm having a little bit tough time getting it to idle the way I want, and the restart after it came out of fuel was a little tougher than I want. Other than those two things, this damn thing is a very, very good saw. Now both the idle and the restart after it runs out of fuel, I'm going to tune that, and you watch over time, that problem will go away. That's just partly because it's not broken, and partly because I haven't dialed in with the saw just yet to get it where I want it. And but I would say this is money well spent. I would say if you're a tree service type, even a logger type, this is a nice saw. You know, the loggers, the true loggers would probably want the 592 instead of the 585. I don't think you're going to lose much in power. There is a power difference, I can tell you that, but this thing here makes good, solid power. What this reminds me of, it reminds me of 390, both in the weight and the power delivery. So it'd be more fuel efficient just yet, but time will tell. And again, when it breaks in, we'll see. So, bottom line though, I mean, this is a saw. I'm glad I spent the $1,000 for it. I think it was worth the money, and I'm going to work it. I'm going to work it. This one and the 565 are probably going to come back in the channel more, at least on the working side, along with the 572. The 572, I really like the saw. What it has over my 565 is really throttle response and power at the higher RPMs. But in day-to-day use, the 565 doesn't give much up to the 572. And the other thing about the 565 is because of how it delivers the power and because of the geometry of the bucking spike, it too, like this 585, doesn't stall the chain as easily as my 572 does with that Western bucking spike. When I get the 572 right and the bucking spike right, I don't think it's going to stall much either, but the 565 and the 585 don't stall. So, you know, it's a black and white thing right now. But I'm blaming the geometry of the bucking spike on the 572 for that difference, not the way the saw is. So when I get that right, you know, maybe it'll come back up a little bit in terms of how much I like to use it. But the way it's configured right now is very hard. It's really hard to use that saw because it just stalls the chain so quickly. Where both the 565 and this 585 don't do that. They don't stall that way. And I'm going to repeat myself. I believe it's the bucking spike more than it is the power delivery. Although I can tell you the 565's power delivery is a little lower the RPMs, and that does contribute to being more flexible than the 572, which you really have to spin it out a little bit more than the 565. The 572, you have to run it at a higher RPM. Anyway, so all three of those saws are definitely pro-level saws. And I have the money to buy any saw I want. If I wanted a 592, I'd have it. So, same with the 572. I have one. I have now 3 of them. But the 565 still falls into the truck more than the 572 does. And not to belabor a point, it's more about the setup of the saw than how the saw actually runs. I think the 572 It's going to bubble itself up once I get the bucket spikes right and figure out the right chain bar bucking spike configuration. I think it'll boil back up, but right now the 565 and the 585 are both better saws for me at this point in time. Anyway, enough blabbing. Let me put this thing away. I'm going to bust up some more wood.